So what if you just weren't bound by your physical body? Imagine for a second a society where having physical flesh is, well, entirely optional. What if the basic limits of our biology, being born, growing old, being stuck in one location, were really just constraints that certain beings could totally bypass? It sounds crazy, right? But that's exactly what we're diving into today as we challenge our most basic understanding of what it means to be human.
Today, we're unpacking the highly esoteric spiritual taxonomy described in Chapter 7 of The True Heart of Lamu. Specifically, we'll be exploring the wildly diverse forms of life that allegedly existed during the legendary Mu civilization. This was a place where the physical and spiritual realms weren't separate at all. They were seamlessly intertwined.
All right, here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, the hybrid spirit-earth civilization. Second, the highest priesthood class. Third, free-shifting phantom-type humans. Fourth, miraculous angel humans. And finally, spiritual earth guidance. Let's get right into it. Section 1. Hybrid Spirit-Earth Civilization. To really wrap our heads around these concepts, we have to understand their foundational worldview. According to the spiritual readings recorded in the text, Mu wasn't just your standard ancient empire made of stone and agriculture. It's described as this highly advanced, hybrid society. The beings there supposedly navigated freely between the physical world and the spirit world, totally unbound by the barriers that we just take for granted every single day. Now, the text makes a really fascinating claim here. It says the earthly realm is merely a foothold. Think about that for a second. For these advanced spiritual beings, Earth was literally never meant to be a permanent physical home. It was just a temporary base, a foothold, if you will, used specifically to guide the development of the material world and ordinary humanity. Section 2. Highest priesthood class. So in a society that values the spiritual way over the physical, the power structure looks completely different from what we're used to. At the absolute highest echelon, totally separated from everyone else, was the priesthood. While the general lower-class population just handled purely physical labor without any access to higher spiritual knowledge, the priesthood operated on an entirely different plane of reality and responsibility. And here's the crucial point. This ruling class wasn't managing city infrastructure or earthly politics. No, they were actively engineering the spiritual dimensions of Earth. They cooperated to reform the spirit world itself, working off this core belief that understanding the universe's secrets was the exact same thing as knowing Earth's secrets. And their ultimate end goal? Literally elevating themselves to become gods.
Section 3. Free-shifting phantom-type humans.
This brings us to the real core of Chapter 7. The text introduces us to what it calls phantom-type humans, or phantom gata jinrui in the original Japanese. Basically, these were highly advanced spirit-based entities. They were kind of ghost-like, but not totally incorporeal. They actually had this incredible ability to manifest physical flesh, almost like throwing on a suit of armor, but only when they specifically needed to interact with the material world. The stark contrast between these two states really hits the nail on the head. Look at modern humans. We are completely tethered to our biological flesh, from the second we're born until the day we die, right? But for these phantom-type citizens of Mu, their default existence was spirit-based. Having a physical body was totally temporary, highly conditional, and honestly just optional.
Now you might be wondering, okay, how exactly does a spirit actually touch a physical object? Well, the text explains this through a mechanism it calls quantum transformation. By utilizing this quantum transformation, the book claims that these phantom types could intentionally lower their spiritual frequency to perfectly match the material world. And when they dropped that frequency, they were perfectly capable of eating earthly food, drinking, and physically touching objects, temporarily becoming completely indistinguishable from ordinary physical humans. Pretty wild, right? It goes even deeper. The source actually ties these specific beings to major cross-cultural legends. Because they were essentially spirit-based, the text suggests their abilities perfectly explain phenomena like doppelgangers, when a person allegedly appears in multiple physical locations at once. It also notes they were perfectly capable of journeying to other planets. The book even flat-out states that these entities are the exact same beings that later generations would remember as the demigods of ancient Greek mythology.
Section 4. Miraculous angel humans.
Next up, we have angel humans, a category that completely shatters pretty much every rule of mammalian biology and life cycles as we know them. According to the spiritual messages recorded in the text, these angel humans defied all biological logic because they were born directly into the physical world as fully formed adults.
Yeah, you heard that right. Absolutely zero childhood development required. The text explicitly compares this phenomenal bypassing of normal reproduction straight to legendary tales of virgin births. They just arrived on the scene, completely mature, and ready to enact their spiritual duties.
Section 5. Spiritual Earth Guidance.
So, why did these incredibly powerful beings even bother interacting with the physical Earth at all? Well, to them, physical biology was just completely malleable. Because they saw DNA as nothing more than an interchangeable blueprint, the text claims some of these beings could literally shapeshift into animals. It compares this directly to natural camouflage, like how chameleons or octopuses change their appearance, just done on a profound conscious genetic level. The text even drops this mind-bending detail. In extreme cases, some of these beings consumed anima, meaning raw spiritual energy or souls. It's a radically different hierarchy of life.
When we look at this entire taxonomy, we're seeing a highly stratified society in action. You've got the lower class handling the physical labor at the bottom. Above them, the shifting phantom types and miraculous angel types using the Earth purely as a foothold. And right at the top, the elite priesthood, orchestrating the planet's actual evolution, aiming for ultimate godhood. This was a civilization operating from the top down, where your spiritual capability literally dictated your reality.
I think this quote from the text perfectly sums up their radical perspective. DNA is just a blueprint. If you swap the blueprint, you can transform. For the elite of Mu, biology definitely wasn't destiny. The physical body was totally subservient to their spiritual will.
Which brings us to our final thought. Remember, the text presents these concepts not as fairy tales, but as actual history. It forces us to stop and ask, are the universal mythologies we've all grown up with, the tales of Greek demigods, miraculous adult births, spooky doppelgangers, and animal shapeshifters, are they actually just fragmented, ancient memories of this bizarre, hybrid civilization described in the texts of Mu? It's a massive paradigm shift, and it definitely makes you look at human mythology in a completely different light. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the world around you.